So you said it's changed quite a bit since its inception. I remember hearing Electroneum. I've been in the industry since about 2019. And I'd heard about Electroneum like in the ether a little bit before that. I never really jumped into it. I was barely getting into like Ethereum and a little bit of Polygon, starting to learn Solidity on the developer side. So I knew Electroneum was a thing. I had no idea what it was. I remember in part of my research, I saw like it was part of the GSMA. I think it was the only blockchain company in the GSMA in like the mobile phone consortium, which was very interesting point for me that they were going mobile first back in 2018, 2019. It seems like Electroneum had like an early vision of we want to be where people are actually using these things instead of having to use a computer with a wallet in like an extension. Their whole focus was on getting into people's hands, like what people were using on a daily basis all across the world, and really what gave people more access to the blockchain in a valuable way. What's up, Art? Welcome to the show. Great to have you here, man. How are you doing today?
Doing amazing. Enjoying the New York finally warm. I know it's June, but it's been freezing, so it's really nice to actually see sun.
Dude, I completely understand that. I have a good partner in Toronto, and he's been telling me the same thing. Every time we hop on a call, he opens his blinds and he's like, "Dude, there's sun outside. It's so nice." So I can imagine New York is feeling the same way. It's been colder much longer this year than anticipated, but it's been beautiful recently. So
It's great now.
Great to hear that. Yeah.
Getting ready for NFT NYC. I'm speaking there at a panel about how to use community to grow community as a utility. So those elements that will be very critical for any crypto project.
Yeah. That sounds like a great conversation at NFT NYC. It almost sends me back a few years to like the OG project builder days when NFT NYC was big. Focus on community was much bigger. And it's nice to hear some of those like classic topics coming back. I haven't been to NFT NYC, I think, in like 2 years now. So yeah, that's exciting. Have you been going to NFT NYC recently? Like, what's your experience been in the past?
Yeah, I mean, it's my third time speaking there. So I've been invited as a speaker for a bunch of times. So excited. I'm in New York, so it's easier to.
I was gonna say it's local for you, yeah. So that must be nice.
There's definitely benefits. So being in New York's a plus. Plus is right during the permissionless time. So really excited to see what's being built, what's being developed. Always good to see the technology and how we're progressing in space.
Well, hopefully there's a good turnout this year. It's nice that multiple events are kind of coinciding, so people will already be in the area attending and kind of get the benefits of both. So yeah, dude, that's awesome. I think our team, we've got a couple people heading to permissionless. I'll be heading to ETHCC over in Cannes. And then one of our other engineers was talking about Istanbul Blockchain Week. Like there's some big conferences and events happening literally all over the world right now. It's that time of the season. So yeah, really looking forward to those events. First, man, honestly, I wanna welcome you to the show, and I would really love for you to tell our listeners a little bit more about your history. So I don't think everybody knows who you are. If they know you on socials, they know you have some previous pretty high level experience. In my own words, I like to explain what you do as taking little known protocols in Web3 and turning them basically into household names. So Polymarket, when I was doing the research, Polymarket was one of the top things that comes up attached to your name, which I think everybody in the industry knows. The largest prediction market in the industry, very, very household name now. You've also worked with IoTeX in the past, which is a big IoT and DePIN company that we also work very closely with, good friends of ours. So can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like kind of how did you get into this line of work? What interested you in Web3? And how did you end up at Electroneum? Probably the longest running company that you've been at so far. Everything else was like very new and kind of innovative. Electroneum was innovative, and it's been around for such a long time that it's kind of it's an OG in the space. So yeah, what did that look like for you getting into the industry itself, and then your journey into Electroneum?
Absolutely, yeah, and I do believe Electroneum is innovating. They're building new, very cool, exciting technology. That's they start out with a different vision or slightly different vision back in 2018, and they have evolved into what they are now. But a little bit about myself. So just a quick recap. Yeah, I was in blockchain space for a good 8 years now. Uh, Before Polymarket, I was blockchain driven, which is a blockchain agency. Worked with different projects, help both marketing and kind of positioning. Then joined Polymarket when I was there for a CMO, and we were a tight project, and my objective was to figure out how to scale it up. It went pretty well, so pretty happy
You
about
guys
that.
did a great job. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and it's, I mean, Shane doing a great job, continues to do a great job. I mean, they're really growing. I was just there in the early days, and yeah, really excited to see the success that has been keep on, build up. So
Yeah.
so that I was at IoTeX later, and IoTex is layer one. At the time, it was pretty small projects as well. My objective was to build out the whole marketing team, restructure it, figure out how do we get the exposure, how do we get the eyeballs, how do we get the notification, make it easier for people to just understand what it is. IoT is not easy. So
Yeah, for sure.
big aspect of it was like making it digestible for audiences. And yeah, I was there during the last cycle 21 to early 22, and we had a breakout moments. We hit our all-time highs and our real big milestones, hit like 2.5 billion market cap at some point.
I was gonna say that went from like 200 mil to like
Yeah.
2.5 billion. Yeah, that was a crazy spike for
Yeah,
sure.
well, I was during the time I was the head of marketing, so I was my like
Nice.
I would like to believe definitely played some role in
I can imagine you must have had something to do with that. I mean, I'm curious, man. What is the secret behind this? Is it like just picking the right projects to go work with that you like find that diamond in the rough and you're like, I know this is going to be big and I can definitely help change the narrative here. Or like, well, what is the secret behind it? Or is it just something you do wherever you go? You're like, I know what I need to do here to make this, more popular or more digestible or, whatever, a little bit simpler for people to understand to really get their interest and get people engaged in it. Do you have a secret sauce or is it
it.
different every time?
It's a great question, and it's a great question because it's a mix of both. You're right. Like one is I really like marketing. So some people cool like okay with marketing. Some people enjoy it. I like it. I get into like what is psychology of marketing. Right? I want to see the foundational blocks of not just like here is best time to release mailing campaign at 2 p.m. or whatever. The reality is I like to look at how do this product can feed for the people. Is there value that can be added through the narration? Is it and that's part of more of a I don't know, I don't want to say visionary, but in a way visualizing how you can move forward at scale, right? So what is CMO role? CMO role is generally you are a driver in a car, and CEO tells you want to get from here to that top of the mountain, right? From point A to point Z, and go. Like they're
Yeah,
like you're holding the map. They'll like, oh, I think we need to go here or not. But you have to figure out the path. You
you got to
have to
figure it
drive.
out.
You're the driving potholes. You gotta avoid the walls. Oh, we got hit a dead end. What do you do? Okay, we gotta back up and take this route. So it's partially acquired skill. Two, you have to be somewhat calm when dealing with it. Like in Web3 space, it's very chaotic. So being able to stick with the vision, right? Being able to know how to build the teams of it's not about one person. It's about somebody comes in and really build the team that will work and grow. And in all market IoTeX, in a bit of Zilliqa, it's all about building a right team, and then it's like I compare it to like playing cards. If you have two cards, you don't have much to play. You have minimal hand, so you can't really take a small project that doesn't have anything and play with it. So the bigger the project, the more cards in your hand you have, right? So you
More
could be
opportunities.
marketing, partnerships, announcements. It could be technology, right? If you don't have any of that, or you have like one, right? We have technology. Well, that's not enough. You gotta have other resources. It's it's playing poker. Like, what is like better play poker? And if you have 3 hands, 6 hands, or 20 cards, like 20, it's illegal, but that's what big companies do. They have a lot more cards, and it's poker has a system. And the reality is, like the company, the bigger they are, they have more cards they have, And the better they can play them, the more advantage it can give in momentum. Look at Google's, Amazon's, Tesla's.
Yeah.
That is basically it.
That's a really good point. I think I find a lot of interest in this mainly because I've been on the marketing side for a long time. So I came from traditional Web2 technology marketing. I worked for Samsung for years in field sales marketing, education, training, events, and really like teaching people. And so when you even like we talk about IoTeX, right? Like IoT is very complicated, and it's something that I dealt with in traditional tech field of like
You
trying to
would.
explain to people in 2018 what IoT is and what like how home automation works and all of these different like technical concepts to try to break them down for the everyday user is a really difficult thing to do. But that's the core of a successful marketing team and marketing campaign is really taking those complex matters and distilling them into valuable pieces for your target demographic. So like
Oh,
you can't just drop the tech specs, you know, you got to tell them how it's going to benefit them in their everyday life.
yeah,
And I think you using the word visionary is I would kind of say that's accurate, right? Like you have to have the vision of I understand the technical aspect of it, I understand the benefits of it. Now how can we package this into something that people will actually see and want to understand and learn more about and find the value in, and then get them engaged in actually using these products or blockchains or tools in these ecosystems.
exactly.
So I think yeah, that's a very good point.
It's like I think that's what like people thinking, like, oh, it's marketing in crypto is like never going to be easy because you're competing with all of the projects and they're all fighting for the same eyeballs. So whenever I
Yeah,
hear people, oh, like it, I'll use example of Electroneum in this case. They have an audience, they've been around, but they are completely different project now versus a few years ago because they're layer one, right? So they're
yeah.
they're had a vision of like payment app, and then they transitioned to kind of AnyTask e-commerce, and which was more of an umbrella company. Uh, and then the reality became that there needs to be a blockchain technology behind it and really be built at scale, decentralized. And so they're really relatively new. They started like their layer one came out last year, so they've been only like a year and 3-4 months, and
Wow.
audiences are trying to understand it. Like they have a large audience, and my involvement with them is they asked me recently. We had an AMA, and after that they asked me to kind of come in as a strategic advisor. So more like how do you like to help them really connect the dots because they're competing with they got a great technology, but they are competing with everybody, and so is every project out there. Those
Yeah.
Solanas competing with Sui's and Ethereum's and others. It's eyeballs, it's attention span. It's how do you tell a story that is fulfilling and different and attracting users. And a lot of comes out with community. Community Electroneum has been around for a while. They are they're wanted to succeed, and Electroneum wants to succeed as well, and so they needed somebody like me to come in and help them connect the dots.
Okay. That's a great way to phrase it. So I'm curious. Let's dive in a little bit more to Electroneum. So you said it's changed quite a bit since its inception. I remember hearing Electroneum. I've been in the industry since about 2019, and I'd heard about Electroneum like in the ether a little bit before that. It just
Mm.
I never really jumped into it. I was barely getting into like Ethereum and a little bit of Polygon, starting to learn Solidity on the developer side. So I knew Electroneum was a thing. I had no idea what it was. So can you explain like the history of Electroneum? What did it start out to be? I remember in part of my research, I saw like it was part of the GSMA. I think it was the only blockchain company in the GSMA in like the
Yeah.
mobile phone consortium, which was very interesting point for me that they were going mobile first back in 2018 2019. I think they officially joined in like 2022 or 2023. But it seems like Electroneum had like an early vision of we want to be where people are actually using these things instead of having to use a computer with a wallet in like an extension. Their whole focus was on getting into people's hands, like what people were using on a daily basis all across the world, and really what gave people more access to the blockchain in a valuable way. And I may be reading way more into this than what the actual vision was, but that's what's the first thing that came to me is that there's people all over the world that just have a smartphone and they don't necessarily have access to a bunch of other technology, or computers and wallet extensions and different ways that we interact with blockchains and dApps. Um, and now, obviously, it's changed. There's a layer one now. I believe Electroneum is focusing more on NGOs, and there's been like a very, I don't want to say a drastic shift, but definitely a shift in what the core value prop is. So I don't want to explain it from my side. I would love to hear from your
That's right.
side, like that, yeah, that vision of the Electroneum, how it started, and what the focus is now, and kind of how that transition happened.
Oh yeah, so absolutely. It's so the big part of Electroneum have been, like you mentioned, mobile. They had mobile mining, which is super cool. They had the first smartphone, blockchain smartphone, in 2019. Before Solana did it after, but they actually had a smartphone that you can
They actually
mine.
launched a smartphone.
Yeah,
Smartphone.
they actually had a real phone. Yes,
That
people
makes
can
okay. That
Google it.
makes so much more sense that they were part of the GSMA now. That's crazy. I didn't that didn't come up in my research apparently. So I gotta dig a little bit deeper. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
really cool.
It's so they were able to mine with it, and it was focused on it was Android phone, and you're able to do mining for the unserved regions. In Africa, they had a real lot of representation, people using phones. I believe still to this day. Once again, I don't think they're in the phone business anymore, but the vision was the mining, the ability to do things on the go. Uh, and that was original, under serving in served communities, ATM form of payment as well. And that vision is still live. So if you look at AnyTask.com, it's a e-commerce platform that was launched in 2020. And it's right now, I would
That's like a
say,
freelancing platform, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
AnyTask.com.
yeah, yeah.
You won't even know if it's crypto, and it has freelancing from
I
all.
honestly did not know at all. I think that's a win for in my book. That's a 100% win to try to onboard everyday users. That's a real value that you're providing, and the rails on the back end are provided by blockchain, and nobody needs to know that. If the site itself, the marketplace is adding value, that's all that matters. Like why does it matter that it's using blockchain on the back end or what blockchain it's using? And I think a lot more people in the industry need to focus on that sort of user onboarding, and that sort of adding value to the ecosystem without trying to explain the tech side of it, without having to explain the tech side of it. But yeah, that's an amazing example. And when was that launched? AnyTask. That's been
It
around for
was
a
in
while, right?
2020, and it's been we recently had there was a session with Kathy Woods, who's kind of operations for it, and it's been thriving. They're onboarded over close to 1 million users now, and people are using them, and they have like tens of thousands of deals ongoing live. So reality is people keep talking about how do we bridge Web 2 to Web 3, where Electroneum already done some of that. They're bridged the Web 2 and Web 3, and you can pay basically the people pay with credit card, but it can automatically convert it to Electroneum. So you don't even know it's Web 3. So it's super cool.
Wow.
Uh, under this, like under, how's it called? The
Under the hood.
under the hood elements. Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
ramps of ramps that are for creators who are from third world countries, who are a lot of them in Philippines, Pakistan, and such, where for them it could be life changing money, and they don't take the cut like Fiverr does, where Fiverr they cut from both the business and the creator. So the creator gets all the money, super happy, and they're growing. So once again, people keep selling AnyTask. Like in crypto, there is a very low attention span. It's like if you're building a retail business, it takes a while. Like let's
Yeah.
get honest here. Like e-commerce, retail is not easy, and
Yeah.
them having that kind of traction, kind of engagement is already a significant. Like I would say, one of the probably biggest e-commerce success in crypto is Electronic, based on that.
I think the fact that it's been quiet, like it's one of the it's a sleeping giant, It's and this is actually something that I said. I started here at Anchor a year ago. It was just like my anniversary of 1 year at the company, and that was one of the first things that I said when I came here. I joined customer success. I started leading the marketing department, and my whole reason for coming to Anchor. Previously, I was at Tron for almost 3 years. I did senior technical partnerships. I created a DevRel and a BD team there, and it was an amazing experience. And Anchor was one of our, if not our largest infrastructure provider when I was at Tron.
Mm.
And that was like, for me, I don't think a lot of people understood what Anchor was, or even that Anchor existed, because it was so quiet. But it was one of, if not the only, like bare metal infrastructure provider that ran, I think at that time they were running infrastructure for like 50 or 60 plus blockchains.
Oh,
Now we support over 80 different blockchains.
wow.
But it was just, it's that sleeping giant. I'm like, yeah, they have their own servers all over the world. They have their own private end-to-end CDN network. Like, it's one of the most resilient and high performance infrastructure providers in the space. And nobody knows they exist, just because they don't do a ton of marketing. They're not trying to blast it from the top of the mountains. They just want to provide good infrastructure to make sure that all of these projects, blockchains, dApps that they're supporting with their infrastructure are able to run and operate, and users don't see any issues. They don't see any latency. And without trying to make it a commercial for Anchor, that was really what kind of made me gravitate towards this,
Right.
was that it's a sleeping giant. More people need to know what is happening behind the scenes of these organizations that really help keep Web3 running as an ecosystem. And I think Electroneum kind of hits that same nail of, it's a sleeping giant. It's been around for almost 10 years now, and it's been a major player in the space. Like you said, they launched a cell phone in 2019 with mining. I was still with Samsung at that time, and they had just released their first smartphone that had a cryptocurrency wallet built in. It had Bitcoin, Ethereum, and
Good.
Tron were the three networks it supported, and it was the first phone with the cryptocurrency wallet. And I thought that was game changing. So to see a Web3 company at that same time launching their own physical hardware, like mobile phones that supported mining, is like, that blows my mind right now. Like, Electroneum was even bigger than I thought when I got into this podcast episode. Um,
They're
that's
good
amazing. Yeah.
guys. Yeah, they're like I said, the reason why I decided to kind of accept the role is because they are doing the right thing. They are on the right track. The audiences do have to understand it doesn't, you don't change on a dime, and you gotta continuously grow. So I recently I was part of moderation RMA with Richard Ellis, the CEO, and they're investing. They're investing in team, in partnerships, and marketing. So I think this is what should be attention on. It's not about um, it's not about immediate gratification. Like, if you look at any crypto project, like, a lot of
Yeah.
them are in the weeds of building. Some of them haven't been released for now, and that's gonna be it.
Any day now.
I capped. Yeah. It's like they're at such a stage where, and yet they're like, look at their audiences, right? So they're massive, but Web3 is still in the promise stage. We're building reality, and Electroneum has built a lot more reality than many other projects, and that's something that I believe they're starting to spread the word about. AnyTask, go and you need any type of digital whatever, because like item, right? You could be, hey, I want to
Services.
my photo, I want to do this, I want that, I need virtual assistant, I need a
It's
whatever.
literally Fiverr,
Yeah.
with no commission and running on ETN rails with nobody actually needing to interact directly with the blockchain. Like,
Yeah.
this is what we should be doing, is the tech stack powered by blockchain. The end user doesn't have any idea. They have a problem that they need solved. They're able to solve it, pay with a credit or debit card, and they're on their way. They're not paying middlemen. They're not losing any time, money, security in the process. And the creators on the other end, same thing, right? They're getting money. They're getting the opportunity to provide their services.
That's right. Yeah.
This is literally how Web3 should be brought to the masses, is behind the scenes, under the hood, just powering value. And that's what, I mean, AnyTask is doing. So obviously the team behind it has that mentality, which I respect a lot in this space. Not many organizations, chains, last in this space for this long. There have been hundreds, if not thousands, of chains and ecosystems and projects that have come and gone in the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And Electroneum has, constantly been building, been maybe a little quietly.
Yeah.
But like you said, these things don't happen overnight. If you want a sustainable business model, you want to provide real value, you're spending more time heads down building and providing value than you are marketing and shouting it from the mountaintops, which
Absolutely.
sounds
Yeah,
like, yeah, now you're on the other side of that. You're like, okay, now it's time to shout from the mountaintops
that's
of
right.
what Electroneum has been doing for all these years under the
Like
hood.
they've been building on the head, and then like, all right, let's start spreading the word, and they, yeah, it's they're in the right place, right time. You know, we're going into the up market. There is a lot of interest. You know, there are, like we mentioned earlier, events everywhere. Uh, audience, more people getting into Web3 space. So there are a lot of cool stuff coming.
Sweet. So let me ask you this then. For the current vision for Electroneum, like you said, they're investing in a lot of projects, they're supporting a lot of people in the ecosystem. Um, what is the current focus of Electroneum? What kind of projects are they looking for? I know it's an EVM layer one, so most developers in the space should be able to build on Electroneum. What is like the highest value apps, projects, developers, like the types of people that you're looking to shine a light on and invest in and see succeed in the Electroneum ecosystem?
Yeah. We're definitely focusing a lot on NGOs. In fact, there are some stuff happening behind the scenes with some really potentially big companies. It's again, uh, it's always not, it's really not a plan ahead too far, but the reality is there's things happening that are Electroneum built for to be very fast chip transactions, are really NGO focused. So it's not expensive at all, right? Like it can be expensive at all. Like it has to be. I think it's right now the price is 0.00002 cents, right? So it's like it's
Okay.
nothing, more or less, like virtually free. And so we are build the program, and now we just had a big hackathon at Anchor. You guys were one of the sponsors, and
Yeah.
went really well. We had, I believe, over thousands of submissions and engagements. So it was really exciting. Next hackathon being planned. So we're building an ecosystem around layer one. And so there are builders, we're attracting builders. We are focusing on the what is would be the next major breakthrough for electronic, right? It's not just incremental gains. It's really how do we build a brand, and it's usually done through building on top of it. Like we have ElectroSwap, really cool project, DEX,
I
right?
remember
They have
that.
NFT collections, they have some stakings and all the good stuff. There are like a number of other projects that are also build and active, and now it's going to be going to how do we scale it much further. So it's once again, it's a new layer one. So people's forgetting
Yeah.
it. It's been around for about 8 years, but it's really, as a layer one, it's been around for about a year and change.
Okay, so see, I think that's an interesting point, or an interesting differentiator is Electroneum, the actual project, the token, the ecosystem, like has been around for a lot longer than the layer one itself. And launching a layer one comes with its own challenges, which include attracting developers and scaling.
Right.
Because as a company, Electroneum has provided other value in the space. There's already active things that are running that are bringing Electroneum value, and Electroneum is bringing value to the ecosystem and to the community. I think what a lot of times people don't necessarily see a lot of this value in real projects, because like a lot of our, at least for me, a lot of our base, our listener base, or our user bases are in the West. So like if you're in the US, you may not see as much daily value from like mining crypto on your cell phone, or from as many like freelance opportunities. Whereas, like you said, a lot of the users are in the Philippines and in Africa and Pakistan and a lot of places that have maybe instability, some inflation issues that have like turned to technological solutions, including blockchain, to help try to solve a lot of those problems. And so, a lot of those user bases tend to be in the global south, or in places where they're not focused just on speculative trading, like we are here in the West. So I think maybe Electroneum has had more success in other markets than it has in the U.S. or in the Western markets. Would you agree that that's fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, it started out in UK, so it has good footprint out there, and it's been expanding. And with the beauty with the AnyTask, you can spend anywhere, right? You can roll out different markets, and that's something that right now pretty in-depth conversations like which markets to roll out, because there are both users like in America, in Europe, they can there are the users for Electroneum, where marketplace. Um, and the beauty of it is, like I said, the scaling is not that difficult, because ultimately it is Web2 product. So you can go,
Yeah.
right? You don't need to open an office there. You can just literally go, okay, let's do promotion and figure out how to target this sector of people, and boom, more users.
Nice.
It's scalable. In crypto, it's very hard to scale sometimes because, right,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have a clear product. Um, and with any task, you do. So any task could be sleeping a giant that will literally break out as it scales up. So and that would be like the slingshot strategy. So slingshot strategy is basically when you're layer one and you have a really project that can be your slingshot. It's gonna move you up. And for example, for Polygon, you want to guess what was slingshot for Polygon?
Polymarket.
Yes, there we go.
Wild guess.
Yeah,
Polygon, I mean, I
yeah,
think, and that's actually a very good comparison, because Polygon has also been around for a long time, since I want to say 2018, 2019.
yeah.
And so, like, people like me that were here early, I was looking for a cheaper EVM network to like practice my Solidity development skills on. That's why I knew about Polygon. But outside of that, I didn't really use it for much. But yeah, Polymarket really took the Polygon name that's been around for years and turned it more into a household name, because people wanted to engage on the prediction market. They started to realize, like, oh, like this is running on Polygon. Polygon is still a thing, and it is popular and it's being used. And I think that's, yeah, similar for Electroneum. Is the value's already been there, like the value add and the things that actually help are there. The solutions have been provided and people are using it. But then, yeah, like I said, launching an L1 comes with its own set of challenges, which
Yeah.
is a little bit
I mean,
unique. You're right, like from a
let me give you
business,
another
from a
example.
DApp.
Pump.fun, right? Pump.fun, what is it?
Yeah,
Solana. Boom.
Solana.
Solana wasn't like, yeah, there were NFT, some engagements of really the meme coins would really,
Even
but
meme coins, yeah, meme coins made it pop off, but like Pump Fun was really the catalyst that took it to the next level.
it's so every big project has some sort of slingshot. So every project should be developing it. If you're a layer one and you're listening, this is your strategy. Oftentimes, your layer one is the technology that's being built on. So that's why not. So some people are confused sometimes. Layer one, or well, what's going on? How do we grow? How do we scale? Layer one by itself does not grow. It grows this project that's being built on it. And in Electroneum's case, AnyTask has been, a big project, and now it's gonna, they're adding a lot more projects with hackathons and such, how that will
Hmm.
allow them to basically tap into deeper, partnerships. And I can't really talk about that, but there is actually some really really exciting stuff happening behind the scenes that like that can would be a game changer. Let's put it that way. And but like it's
We'll keep it on the hush hush for
that's right.
now.
That's right.
Maybe on the next episode we'll dive into some of
That's
those
right.
partnerships once. Yeah, we don't want to get you in any trouble here, Art. Okay, cool. Okay, that's awesome, and I'm really glad. Thank you for giving some advice to other L1 ecosystems, because there are a lot. There's a lot of L1s, L2s. Like, people can launch a chain, in 10 minutes using automated, no code deployers. Like, it's not really hard to launch a
That's
blockchain
right.
itself anymore. It is really hard to provide unique value into the ecosystem that others haven't done before, and to really set yourself apart. I think having the history that Electroneum does, the tenure that Electroneum has in the space, kind of give it that credibility already. There's already been so much value add. It's already been around for so long and building in the space, that it comes with some of that credibility already baked into the ecosystem. So I'm really excited to see where the Electroneum L1 goes, what kind of projects are incubated in the ecosystem, and really what comes out of that. I know I actually had I helped judge some of the projects in the last Electroneum hackathon.
Perfect.
Yeah, ElectroSwap was one of them. There was a few good like games that were pretty addicting that I like to play as I was judging through them. Some sustainability projects, like a lot of the stuff you see kind of repetitively as you go into hackathons.
Well,
For Electroneum, I did see that there was a good community engagement. Like the people that are there, I feel like have been there for a while and really want that ecosystem to succeed, which, like you said, is very, very important to have that diehard community that believes in the value that you're bringing and is there for the long term. I think is very important, and to see that kind of come through in the projects that are building and the support they get and the engagement they get from the community was really, really cool. So I'm excited. Hopefully, we'll take part in the next one as well. Provide a little prize pool, help judge some projects, and for me, that's the most fun part. Is really just playing with all the projects, going through the GitHub portfolios, and playing the games, and actually seeing what people are building, and these new ideas that come out through these hackathons.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's about community. It's about building. It's about attracting new users, and that's something that Electroneum starts to really tap into. So there have been, getting a lot of buzz lately. There's a lot of coverage from both communities of, media influencers. Although, like, what is influencer? Influencer is a community leader, and they have communities that you want to tap into. So the more buzz it provides, the better it is for the project, and they're explained better. It's more discoverable. So that's the element where I think Electroneum can really grow, because I know they haven't done too much with marketing until recently, and so this is a new page for them where they are really, Electroneum 2.0 was defined as a growth, stage for us, where we able to take AnyTask and other projects that are being built and take it to the next level.
nice. That's awesome. Well, I'm excited about Electroneum 2.0 for sure. I'm excited to see where you guys go from here. Now we've already been on the show for about half an hour now. We're coming close to the end, so I do want to give you a chance to drop a hot take for the audience. I know some of our guests like to talk about a future vision. We talk about AI sometimes, but I would really love for you to give me a hot take. Is there anything that you've been thinking about lately that you think maybe a little bit different opinion than mainstream? I know we talked a little bit before this episode started, about the industry and about how the market is operating right now, and you had some pretty interesting takes. So I'm going to give you the spotlight, and give me a hot take that we can chat about for a few minutes before we sign off of this episode.
Absolutely. So my hot take is I think we're still in bear market. So if you look at it, you'll say, well, Bitcoin is 100K. How's it possible? But if you look at every other alt project and how it used to be in previous cycle, they tend to move together, right? Bitcoin and everybody else. This time around, if you look at the market, it just, other than Bitcoin, there's really not much happening, with few exceptions, meme coins. And so really, none of them, majority are not even close to previous cycles high.
They're not following the same trend. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like you said, you think we're still in a bear market, and that kind of threw me off because I'm so used to seeing notifications of Bitcoin like hovering around 110. It's like it's consistently stayed over 100K, and I'm like, how can you call it a bear market with six-figure Bitcoin? That just doesn't compute for me. But you make a really interesting point, which I think everybody's talked about, a lot this cycle, is that alts have kind of separated from Bitcoin this time around. So Bitcoin is still staying fairly consistent, fairly steady, where we would be if it were a bull market and if things were moving well. Do you have any thoughts on why the separation between alts and Bitcoin, and maybe what we could be looking at in terms of a different type of cycle? Like, are we just going to have a delay on alts, do you think, and it'll catch up with Bitcoin at some point, or do you think they're completely separated now?
Yeah, so my take is, and I'm actually working on an article for Forbes, so I also write occasionally for Forbes,
Nice.
on something
Let's
like
just name drop that real quick. Yeah.
like what's you guys want to read Google? I actually did I think for my forecast for 2025, which was depending on the AI and a number of other elements. By the way, if you hear occasional sounds, there's a huge storm going on. So sorry about that. Sorry.
No worries.
So my take is, I believe there's some decoupling happening. Like before the previous cycles, everything, when Bitcoin or Ethereum goes up, everything goes up. Now I believe it's going to be more selective. With meme coins, they took out a lot of focus on liquidity. They took a lot of attention. So only projects that are real, that are building, that are willing to fight the tide and go with a kind of with the stream and the flow will succeed. You can just launch a token. Like you said, layer one needs a lot of
Yeah.
resources. Yeah,
Hmm.
Electroneum has a lot of resources, and they're allocating it to really taking it to the next level. Um, and so yeah, so I think the difference is before everybody would move, and now
Yeah.
only some will move.
There
And
was a lot
those,
more like latent liquidity that people were just kind of spreading around. Every time things went up, people just kind of threw money into everything at the same time. Whereas this time they're being a little bit more picky, a little bit more safe with their investments, kind of sticking to Bitcoin and maybe a couple of projects. So I guess if that's the case, do you think maybe, and this, I like the idea of this, but I don't know if this is actually what's happening. Do you think maybe we're getting to where people are looking at fundamentals before they put money into the market this time? Because generally our industry doesn't like fundamentals. We just like throwing money at fun things. So it sounds like maybe what you're trying to say is this time people are a little bit more careful and they're looking at fundamentals before putting their money into projects. So it's not just like a scatter shot of investment and just matching charts all throughout the market. There's very specific sectors or projects that are actually attracting the attention, and generally for a good reason, I would hope.
yeah, and that's maybe another hot take I have is like I believe in this cycle we have to fuse with the real world. Like you cannot be Web3 and Web2 separate. We cannot walk two different roads. Like depends, AnyTask in this case as e-commerce, there has to start fusing. Otherwise, you know, what is really happening? What are we building?
What are we
So
doing?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so you can't just be like DeFi forever, right? NFTs or meme coins, that's fun, but there has to be a real applications, real audiences, real demand that starts to like IoTeX is a great example of real, decentralized physical infrastructure projects, and they're constantly building, attracting and building knowledge to use it. So in a way, Electroneum is that for NGOs, for e-commerce. So there has to be application, or why for what is your solution like as a project? If you're just there as a meme coin, then maybe it's not very useful.
Man, I think that's probably the hottest take you've had this entire conversation. If you're just a meme coin, you're not useful, which I mean there are some billion-dollar meme coins that would love to fight with you on that point, I think. But yeah,
Well,
I genuinely
yeah.
yeah.
I will put a definition of what meme coin to me is. Like you can see Dodge and Shibu, they've been through different cycles. Dodge, they're trying to build Dodge OS. They're building a whole bunch of applications on top of it. So Dodge is no longer a meme coin. It has utility in the sense that, right, it's getting accepted in certain stadiums. I think Alana was doing it,
Mhm.
or Mavericks. Uh,
Mavericks, I
so
think, yeah.
so there's that, and there's meme coin, and we're just there flashing the pen, right? Like you go up, you go down, all in a matter of hours. So that's like what value is it other than everybody's seeing the space as gambling paradise?
Good point. I think that's a very diplomatic answer. If you're just a meme coin with no potential future value add, then you're just going to be a flash in the pan. But there are meme coins that have, in some sense, turned into actual providing actual utility in some sense, and really taking. And honestly, I think those are just more community driven, right? Like that's really where you find successful meme coins is where you have super committed communities that stick with those tokens for long term for the long term. What we call hodl. It's definitely harder to find nowadays than it was, I think, in the NFT days, 2019, 2020, even the meme coin days. That's kind of gone. And like you said, I personally really love this hot take, and I'm translating it into something beneficial for our industry, right? Like we need sustainability, we need long term folks in this industry, and that will take. Sure, we like to have some fun. We want to speculate, we want to gamble a little bit, but long term, you really have to look at fundamentals and what value these projects are providing, what the teams look like on the back end. Whether you can trust them, whether you can put your faith in the fact that these people are going to continue to build and add value in the space and not just extract. And again, that goes back to what Electroneum has been doing for almost a decade at this point in this industry, which is a really long time for a company in Web3. So honestly, I think I'm gonna end it at that point. I'm very very glad that you were able to join us today. I hear the storms in the background. Like it actually sounds
So
like it's about to come down out there.
it's
At
well,
the top of the call, it was beautiful and sunny. Now it's about to storm cats and dogs out
yeah, it got
there.
darker at some point. You saw that probably.
I did. It's very
Lightning.
obvious. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, before you get rained out of the show, man, I just want to again extend a heartfelt thank you for being on our show, for talking a little bit about Electroneum, telling us about your experience, the secret sauce, and how to take a project from little known project to a household name. Really provide value and market the hell out of it. Find the right KOLs, find the right community to help grow your project and to champion you. I'm really excited. I love working with teams like Electroneum that really put a focus on the developer ecosystem, put a focus on providing value back before they try to extract. So it's been a great conversation. I definitely got to learn a lot. Hopefully, our listeners did as well.
Thank you. Thank
Before
you.
we head out,
Anyway,
yeah, dude, absolutely. Thank you so much. Before we do hop off, I would love for you to share where people can find out more about Electroneum, where they can find you, any resources that they would need to get engaged and start interacting in the Electroneum ecosystem.
yeah, I mean, it's in Electroneum. Like I said, I'm a strategic advisor, so I'm helping kind of figure out the next steps and what needs to be done. Through the experience I have seen and know where it can be integrated, what can work, how it can be scaled. One thing I would say, the community of Electroneum will, are, get involved. I would say go join Discord. The Discord is number one, I would say. So there is right now going on mascot competition for mascots. There is always it's good to have fun and fun on this to do. We're I mean Twitter, Electronio as at Electronio. For me, probably LinkedIn right now is really good. So Art Malkov on LinkedIn and Electronium. I would say go to their site, electronium.com. If you haven't heard of them, take a look. AnyTask.com as a website for e-commerce. But I would start at electronium.com. And once you look at the site, join the Discord, find out more, meet the community.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much again. So to find more about Electroneum, go to electronium.com, follow their Twitter, join their Discord. You can find Art at Art Malkov on LinkedIn. And then, of course, AnyTask, which we've talked about throughout this entire episode, you can find at anytask.com. Again, Art, one more time, thank you for being here on this episode today. It was great chatting with you. Hopefully, you have a great time over at Permissionless and NFT NYC. We'll look out for some of your videos as they come out on Twitter to see some of your speaking engagements. And hopefully we get to run another episode of this soon once you have the freedom to talk more about those secretive partnerships.
That's
that
right.
Electroneum's
That's
working
right.
on.
That will be coming. Thank you
Awesome.
so much for having me. It was great to share all and to show a little bit of a race curtain to show everybody what's happening and things are happening. And, if you're an Electroneum fan, join in and join Discord. If you're not, join Discord and learn more about it. But there is a lot of really interesting stuff happening. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Dude, thanks again. I will talk to you soon, man. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks. Bye.